Yeah, I find teaching a lot of fun. I find the kids fun, and you know, just being the leader of a classroom, teaching them something that's important, teaching them about life through Latin, you know, and laughing and having a good time in their presence, letting them know that I enjoy them. And I'll say I think one of the most important things is not to be afraid of the kids. Like, you're bigger.
Especially in elementary.
You're standing up. They're sitting down. Like don't toady to them. Like, you're in charge, and that's the way it is. Don't be afraid of them. All right. What you think is cool, they're gonna think is cool. And if you respect yourself, they will respect you too.
One of the things I remember a lot is something that one of my first aides told me in my class, kindergarten through second grade behavior class. She told me that in life you get either what you expect or what you accept. And it's something that I try to instill in my students as well, because a lot of them, sometimes they have such low expectations of themselves. Like, your function becomes like their belief system. All right, you have to hold like super high expectations for them, so they at some point, you know, that they can transfer, you know, within themselves, you know, so they can expect a lot out of, you know, their own efforts. So, you know, like, keep your expectations high for them, whatever biases you have, and you may think that you don't, you know, but like you do, and like you'll have to face them. But always keep your expectations high for what your students, and what you require of them, and you know, and it may suck, but be strict.
Mm-hmm.
Be strict.
Yeah.
Yes, it's okay to be strict.
It's okay to be strict.
Yeah, I think one thing that I learned about teaching, not until after maybe 2 or 3 years, is that is not that it's important, but how important it is to be yourself in the classroom. I think when I started teaching, I was thinking about being strict or being tough, or maybe I was a little afraid of the students, and so I was trying to like kind of be a teacher, you know, and so I would come in and I would say, okay, all of Nicole is like staying out there, and what comes in is a teacher who has to be a certain way. And I felt like that was a tremendous effort to be somebody else that was, you know, like not gonna like laugh if somebody made a comment that wasn't, you know, what they were supposed to be saying, like trying to sort of be this person that was like in charge of the class. And I feel like, you know, teaching is a human profession. Like, you're dealing with students, not numbers. You're dealing with like people, not machines. And I feel like your personality is probably the single most important thing in that classroom. And that, in your personality, is what your students are going to remember. They're not going to remember that much about history or about literature or about math. Like, as much as you would love them to remember that, what they're going to remember is who you are. They're going to remember the way that you treat them. They're going to remember the jokes that you made. Like, they're going to remember stuff like that. And I feel like when you are yourself in the classroom, you become a better teacher. Not to say that you let everything, you accept everything. You know, you have to be a version of yourself, but you have to really be yourself, because then you can relax in a way, and your students can relate to you as a human being. And I think the most effective teachers are the teachers that bring themselves into the classroom, whether it's their sense of humor or their love of music, or you know, their, I don't know, like even like their crazy tie or something that they wear. Like, you know, I just feel like the students need to see you as a person, and they're only going to be able to interact with you if you're just the person who you are, and they will appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll just say that we have all promoted the career path of becoming an educator, hopefully a public school educator. And, you know, just sitting and getting to hear everyone on the panel talk today, and I knew this ahead of time because of the way that this award is structured. Like, everyone's up here is a really quality educator. We've already had a lot of success, and we kind of already know that about ourselves. But one thing that's really great about teaching is that you really are, even though it might not be in the traditional sense, you're really valued in what you do, primarily by the kids. We all know that there's this void somewhere today because we're not in our classrooms. And the kids immediately, when we get back, are going to say, where were you? Where were you? And it's got to be a good answer. Like, I mean, at least we can all say that we want an award, so they'll be like, okay, that's good enough, I guess,
They'll be like, show me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you didn't
They'll
get
wanna
us
know
any
some
paper.
They'll want to know some details, but
Yeah.
it comes from the fact that you have become something very stable in their life, that you've become a model for someone who really is energetic about learning. It might not just be your subject area or what you do teach, but that you are excited about learning something new, and you show that to them, and that's contagious. And for a lot of the communities that we work with, there's just not enough of that in their other parts of their life, at their home, or just in the fact that their peers and your brothers and sisters, their cousins, there's not a lot of people talking the way that their teachers talk about educating themselves, and just about how enriching, how much more your life becomes fuller when you decide to really learn something and really learn it well. And so, there's a lot of hard things about teaching, and it's hard to maybe put some Amherst graduates always, I think we've talked about this earlier today, there might still be kind of a stigma about saying, like, I'm going to go from Amherst to go into teaching, but the value is something you realize once you get there, and you have your own classroom, and you experience that.
In my opinion, I think you should sing every day with your students. Make them sing every day. And I want to share something with you that I start my day with my kids every day. We sing a song, which I guess I'll share. That's not what I was going to share. Morning has come, night is away. Rise with the sun and welcome the day. So even if you come in grumpy, you didn't have breakfast, you can't sing that song without smiling. So always have to smile. But what I like to do with my kids, first grade I teach after school, and fourth grade also love to do this. I don't know about high school kids, but we say, down is the earth, up is the sky. Here are my friends, and here am I. So I would say something like that every day, just to remind them this is a positive place.
Kind of slightly less positive story. The story that I was thinking of goes to the point some people were making earlier about the stability we provide and the need for strictness, and for what I'm going to have to face tomorrow. I remember a few months ago, I got called into an unexpected meeting, which is to say that my principal knew it was going to happen weeks in advance, and I had no idea until like a minute and a half beforehand that I needed to, put someone else in charge of my kids for 2 hours. And I came back down, and I came back like right in time to lead them out to get picked up. And Darian turned to me and shook his head and said, "Ms. Dropkin, if you would have been here and seen how he was acting, he would have taken a bazooka and blown up this whole school." Which, I mean, that's it. Like, you build your community, and they know how to act, and they know how to break your rules too, but they will really pull it together for you if they feel like you have faith in them and are committed to being with them and to helping them. And as bad as some of the parts of the job are, that's 98% of what we do on a given day, and the rest of it you can put out of your mind most of the time.
I want to tell a quick story from a child's perspective. No, she's going to go last. This is my grandchildren live just about 2 blocks from where Martina teaches, in a basically very poor, mostly Dominican neighborhood. And my grandchildren are all half Dominican. And this is a story from when my middle granddaughter was 5, just a year ago. And I'm visiting, and she says, "Grandpa, we need to go for a walk." And I think, "What's up?" So we get out, we're walking, and Beatrice says, "Grandpa, I know I have to grow up." But she said, "I have good reasons not to." And I said, "Where are those?" And she said, "I'm in love with Miss Henry, the kindergarten teacher." And the tears began to flow from her eyes. And I started to put my arm around her. She said, "No." She said, "Those are tears of happiness." So we talk about this a little bit. And so recently we were down there visiting, and she's now 6, and she's in first grade. She said, "Grandpa, something terrible has happened in school. I said, what's happened? And she said, you know, I have Miss Dulles this year. And I said, yes. And she said, I'm in love with her too. She said, how long does this go on? So that underscores some of the things you're saying. Sorry.
We've talked a lot about how hard it is to be a teacher, which it is, and how frustrating it is, and how the test scores, and it can pull you away from just thinking about the kids. And I just want to tell a story. If you go into New York City Teaching Fellows, the summer before you start teaching, you will work in a summer school and teach some lessons and observe the teacher teach some lessons. And I was doing that. It was like maybe my first day of this, so my first day as anything like a teacher. And a kid dropped a pencil as I was walking by a desk. And I picked up the pencil and put it on his desk and walked away. And a couple minutes later, he was kind of staring at me, and he was like, and I was like, okay. And he just kind of stared at me for another minute, and he goes, that's what my kids would say. He said, thank you for picking up my pencil. And he was shocked, because no teacher had ever treated him that way. It hadn't occurred to me that I wouldn't treat any person that way. Like, if someone drops a pencil and you're walking by, you know, pick it up. It was just second nature to me. And it's not to a lot of teachers, because they're not thinking about them as kids. It's their job. And their job is not to pick up that kid's pencil. But if you just think about treating the kids like people and doing what you can for people, it just makes everything easier. And that kid, it made a difference to him. It made something, and it was the easiest thing in the world. So there's going to be nights, if you become a teacher, there's going to be nights that you get like 2 nights sleep because you were spending that long planning your lesson, and you're gonna yell, which you shouldn't do, and which you try not to do, but it's gonna happen, and you may lose your voice and get all germy and whatever, but it's a kind of job where every day you can do something as simple as pick up a pencil for a kid, and they're gonna care, and you can do something like that every day and feel good about yourself every day, and that makes up for the fact that you may feel bad about yourself at some point every day. But you really can, very simply, you really can like touch these kids. I mean, because they're especially if you're working in high need schools where they're coming from somewhere where nobody has ever thought to pick up their pencil for them.